What's up, everybody? It's me. It's PLD.
And I'm Richard Jarvi. Welcome to Class Action, the classiest movie show on the interwebs. It's been a while since I've gotten to say that.
I was about to say, we actually did that, and I didn't screw it up. I was able to give you your line, perfect. My line. It was so professional, and I'm calling us out for being professional, so it's unprofessional. Exactly. But you know what? I'm pretty excited about it. So, what can I say?
Kind of a weird mood today, like a low energy mood today, right?
I'm very tired today. I had kind of a long night last night. We usually do this behind the scenes stuff. This is now like 8 a.m. right now at Sunday morning when I'm recording this. For me, I usually work overnights and I come home and do this, but I didn't work really last night, so I kind of went a little bit early. So I kind of had a couple hours. So it's actually harder in a way to get up after having a couple hours and then try to do something. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
So but I'm here. I'm excited to talk about what we're talking about today. I've been pushing. Pushing is not the right word because I can always tell you do something. But I've been thinking we haven't done an actor versus actor in a while,
or just something that isn't movie versus movie.
Right, exactly my point. When we began Class Action here, we wanted to. He's like, we can talk about every different thing. We could be movie versus movie, franchise versus franchise, actor versus actor, or whatever. And so many different things. We're like, this is so cool. And then it just seems like we got in this. I don't want to say rut, but we just got this pattern of we're just still picking movie versus movie. Occasionally, we might do franchise versus franchise or something like that, but it's been a while specifically since actor. I think we haven't done actor versus actor hardly at all. I think maybe we did like Will Smith against Will Smith.
Yeah, and Brad Pitt. We did Brad Pitt, I think.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. Yeah, I can't remember what we did now, but either way, it has been a while. I like this, these comparisons, and this one's
very different. They're very different. The categories are totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a different approach to it for sure. It's a little bit harder, but I kind of like the challenge.
yeah, me too in a way. It is funny we don't really get to play our games as much. I can't play what would Ed Harris play in a Ben versus Ben situation. You know what I mean? But that is how we're going. So basically, we're going to go without games today. So it might be just a meat and potatoes kind of class action. We're just going to get right into it. Let's throw it up there. You saw the thumbnail. Ben Affleck versus Matt Damon. The boys from Boston.
Yeah, best friends, Oscar winners together, came up together. And it's really weird. You told me that the people you talked to had really strong beliefs that it's easily Ben Affleck or easily Matt Damon. That is a really interesting point.
Yeah, and I get where they're coming from because when I think about it, I'm kind of like, and we will get to snap judgment in a little bit. But it's exactly the same thing. It's not like these aren't actors who had a bunch of roles, then got famous, and then they both kind of came up at the same time. They both had a couple of roles, and they kind of got famous really young, and then kind of stayed pretty much strongly famous throughout. And they both have a lot of strengths in their filmography, as well as outside their filmography in a way. And because they are so intertwined with each other, doing all sorts of comedy bits together, they did the Project Greenlight stuff together, and they always seem to work a lot together. In fact, I didn't realize this. They actually are filming another movie together. This big thing called The Last Duel.
Right, the one with Ridley Scott directing, right?
Ridley Scott is directing it. Matt and Ben wrote it together again. It might be maybe one of the first times they've written since the heyday there of Good Will Hunting. A really solid production by them, and they're also both in the cast. So it was really a Ben and Matt renaissance, so to speak. So it's good timing.
It is, and it looks like a really exciting movie. Ridley Scott returning to a mid-ages type movie. I feel like we haven't gotten a decent Swords and Sandals, or just a knights themed or mid-age themed Middle Ages movie. I mean, so right. We used to get Troys and Gladiators all the time. There's nothing like that now.
That's been a hot minute.
Yeah,
it had the sequel to Braveheart. That was one of those recently ish. But it's still not in the same level, I don't think, this one is. With
I agree.
Adam Driver is also in it. Jodie Comer.
The picture looks really cool with Adam Driver in it. There's only one production photo of it, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, I wish I had that on here. I wish I had that. I wish I was professional enough to have had that already ready to go, but I don't. We're gonna have to go on and move on without it. So, like you said, I talked to a couple people. I was on Call to Action, and we broke down the Final Exam versus Odd Couple match that happened recently, the big tag team match.
I think I popped in the chat yesterday.
You
when
did.
I got home.
That's right. You popped in some of the chats I was on. I did a couple of shows last night. I don't remember where but that was the one specifically you were in. And we talked about that. And Lott Harris specifically had said, Matt Damon. Come on, Matt Damon. But then somebody else.
No contest.
No contest. Right? It wasn't like even the thought process. Like, well, yeah, but Matt Damon. Then I talked to I came around to the Action Art Regionals. We were playing Among Us last night, and there was a few of them were like, Ben Affleck. Like, what are you kidding me? What is this even? It was that kind of strong feeling. I wish I had that strong feeling a little bit. It might make this a little easier because
I do. I have a strong feling, and I'll get into it. I have like just like you said, it's like an easy pick. It's like from the top. I'm decided. Like snap judgment. I mean, breaking down the categories, that's a totally different thing.
Well, before we give our snap judgment, I think we should give the categories, and then we'll give our snap judgment.
For sure.
We do have the five categories. Like I said, this is a meat and potatoes kind of show, so we're going to get right into it. We broke it down. It's hard to see because we kind of get into, again, we got into this pattern of movies where we had the same type of categories. So it's easy to kind of go from one week to the next. Okay, you're going to have the best lead performance. You're going to have the best, maybe supporting performance. Best score is always tossed up there. A lot of different things you'd go into. We went to an actor versus actor category. Those are all out the window. So we had to call it totally new ones. So we came back with 5 that we kind of thought worked or were interesting to discuss. We decided to go with, we're going to divide up the careers into 2 halves. We have the better early years, as I called it, which is, I'm going to say 1992-ish to like, say 2005-ish, mid-2005. And then the better recent years from 2006 to today. That's going to be the second category. Third one, we're going to have the better latest movie. Let's see where they stand right now. They both had movies come out pretty recently, both pretty well received and big movies. So where does that stand in our thing? So where are they now in a way? Also, better iconic role, which I think is a very, very interesting discussion with these two. Because you like having an actor who has that one role that they're known for. These guys do, I think, both have something like that, but they're not quite as strong as some others, I would say. But
they've transcended their roles for sure.
In a way, exactly, very much so. And then category number 5, this is kind of an interesting one. It's harder to be to really make a judgment on as far as this goes. It's more predictive. Yep. Who has the better career going forward? Who are we more excited to see things from in the future? So, without further ado, should I let you do your snap judgment first, since you're so crystal clear? Or should I do my snap judgment since I'm not crystal clear?
I'll do mine first.
Okay. Actually, before you say it,
okay,
I am leaning one way. I'm starting to lean one way as I go there, but go ahead. I'm kind of interested in what you say.
I'll ask you, do you think you know which way I'm going?
I do think I know which way you're going.
Okay. It's easily Ben Affleck for me. Feels like it's an easy choice.
Wow. Okay. I'm leaning Ben Affleck myself. I do think that. I'm just saying. I do find that Matt Damon, I love a lot of Matt's work, and I'm always excited to see Matt Damon, but I do think Ben has a little bit of an edge myself. So without further ado, let's just get right into our categories to see. For better early years, I'm going to list out a couple of better films that I've seen from both, or the ones that really stand out as like, oh, good moment.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Yeah.
All right. Ben Affleck. Start with School Ties, along with Matt Damon, actually. Dazed and Confused. Mallrats. Chasing Amy. Good Will Hunting. Shakespeare in Love. Phantoms. He's the bombs and Phantoms, yo. Armageddon. Dogma.
Thank God you said Armageddon. I was like,
can't
skip that.
I was going to skip that.
That gem.
Ranger Games. Chainsaw Bob Strike Back. This one's for you. Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
Maybe Changing Lanes. The Sum of All Fears. Daredevil, Geely,
Haven't seen that.
Paycheck, Jersey Girl. That's where I'll stop. So that's like the early years, some better known movies from Ben Affleck's career. Matt Damon, same scenario. We'll start with a couple of early movies, but it's School Ties is probably his first big real movie as well. Courage Under Fire, Chasing Amy was a cameo for him though for the most part.
Really that's not really like his movie.
Good Will Hunting, Saving Private Ryan, Rounders, Dogma, Talented Mr. Ripley, Titan A.E., Legend of Bagger Vance, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as a cameo again, but I hadn't lit. Ocean's 11, The Bourne Identity,
Born Supremacy.
Born Supremacy.
It's right on the line there.
Yeah. Ocean's 12.
Yep.
And then this is where we're stopping. I gotta say 2005 because there's a big one that comes up right around that time. So I think I have to keep that for the later years, just barely. So we'll get into that next. So there we go. Those are the big movies from the two in the early years. What is your hearing those movies out?
I listed fewer movies, just like these big ones that really popped, were successful or got a lot of attention. So for Matt Damon, I have Saving Private Ryan, Rounders, Talented Mr. Ripley, Bagger Vance, Finding Forrester, Oceans, and Bourne. Now Ben Affleck that is an impressive lineup for Matt Damon. If you look at Ben Affleck, he's our more romantic comedies and sort of like there's not a lot of good stuff in there, like with exactly like Daredevil, you said Geely, what was it, Reindeer Games. These are like his good ones, like you said, Armageddon, Shakespeare in Love, Chasing Amy, Pearl Harbor, yes, Sum of All Fears. I feel like this leans heavily towards Matt Damon. I feel like his early years are strong, like way stronger than Ben Affleck's.
I agree 100%. You got Matt Damon's got too many. First of all, you got an iconic roles, right, which we're going to get into later on. You got some big-time movies. Ben Affleck's only big-time movies would be Shakespeare in Love, which was the Oscar winner. But it's also a movie that's like, I would say it's a questionable Oscar winner in a way that there's always that argument, who should have won? Shakespeare in Love or Saving Private Ryan? Right there, Ben Affleck versus Matt Damon. And I think we both agree that Saving Private Ryan should have easily beaten out.
Funny that it's Matt Damon that is Ben Affleck who took the Oscar from Matt Damon in a sense.
Yeah,
right?
It is. Absolutely, because exactly what you said. I mean, so we got Shakespeare in Love, Good Will Hunting is both of them, so I cancel each other out.
I didn't count that either.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Armageddon is Ben Affleck's big movie, and that, while I'm never gonna shirk Armageddon as far as like it's a great, powerful, fun, action-packed movie,
but it's not a quality movie.
But it's like that's not the movie that you're looking for as far as strength goes. So it's Chasing Amy. That's a good, solid, well-received, great role movie for Ben Affleck. But man, Damon, Saving Private Ryan, Ocean's 11, which he might not have been. I mean, he's part of a big cast, but it's a big time movie and one of my favorites. Like, to be honest, I mean, I'm a little biased, but I love Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning this one definitively towards Matt Damon. I don't think it's even much of a conversation.
Exactly, they really pop these movies, and it's kind of interesting because I can't wait. Should we get into the next category? I feel like
this for a second, but you know what? Something I forgot to do before we began. I forgot to start taking scores. So let me write these down. I'm going to write down our categories. I'm going to use my Action Industries pen.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to use my Action Industries little notebook.
There we go.
So that first category early, we have Ben versus Matt.
And we have Matt Damon taking lead for now.
And that is right.
The next category, we have Better Recent Years. And that is from 2006 to 2020. Well, to this year.
Yes.
This is exactly the flip side. These are flipped for me. If you look at like Matt Damon's movies that I wrote down, Syriana, Departed, Invictus, Green Zone, True Grit, Contagion, Elysium, The Martian, The Great Wall. Whew, Great Wall. Now Ben Affleck is The Town, Argo, Gone Girl. Like these three already are like would take this alone. I feel like The Accountant. Now quality wise, arguably BVS, Suicide Squad, and Justice League, but his role as Batman was it's like that is that is not on the level of the movie. I feel like his performance is way better than the movies are.
Yeah, and actually,
like BVS, I love BVS.
Be honest, we both love BVS. We're actually BVS fans here, compared to especially the Ultimate Edition. But I get what you're saying. Sure. That's an interesting thing you say. I will say that Damon has a lot more cameos in the more recent years. Mm-hmm. But he got a strong part. You didn't mention Interstellar, which I'm surprised you didn't.
Yeah, but that is not. I didn't count these. Yeah, it's a very small role. I don't consider that a Matt Damon movie at all.
That small? That small though? I think that's a solid enough role that it deserves to be thrown into the mix at least, because he's not. It's not like a Matt Damon movie, but it's not a Matt Damon movie. There's enough.
I feel like it is not a Matt Damon movie. Like that is just my feeling. And his credit was hidden. That was like, so that already gives me the impression that it's not supposed to be like his movie. No, it's not his movie, but you know what I mean. It's weird. Well, it's a weird role.
It was hidden because it was supposed to be kind of almost like a surprise in a way. So, and because that's his stature. It's not like it was a one scene and done kind of role though. Like there's differences in some things. I mean, I don't know if I'm looking for Ben Affleck. Something in Ben Affleck's wheelhouse that would be something similar. I mean, I guess maybe Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, where Damon makes a quick appearance, where Ben has a big solid scene, but even that's not quite the same. I get what you're saying. I'm not gonna. I won't argue against it too much, but I do think it should count for it a little bit. But I'll look into those things as well. Ben Affleck, this is where Ben Affleck started to turn around, but it took him a few years first. He had cameo on Clerks 2, Smoking Aces. It was Gone Baby Gone that was the first big turnaround for him. Not only that, because not only was he an actor, but that was his directorial and writer debut.
Didn't act in
it. He directed debut. He did not act in it.
Yeah,
he just directed it. But if you're going to compare the filmographies, that's a big part of Ben's filmography and a big argument in Ben's categories. Matt's not really. I don't think Matt
hasn't directed anything
right? Officially yet. No, okay. It up. He's done some writing, done some producing. Yep. Actually, won an Oscar for producing Manchester by the Sea. But Affleck bigger is one of the reasons I started leaning towards Affleck initially, is because he has directed Gone Baby Gone with Ed Harris. But he also did The Town. He also directed Argo, a Best Picture winner, and Live by Night. Is it Live by Night or Live by Night?
Live by Night.
It is Live by Night. Because also, I had a second hesitation. I haven't actually watched the movie.
I haven't either. I've heard so many bad things, and
I've heard too.
It kind of feels like an underwhelming movie, right? Like the trailer and everything. Although I feel like you should watch it.
I'm going to eventually. I'm definitely going to watch my Ben Affleck filmography at some point. But that's what the big part is. I think I'll feel like it goes more in the directorial side of things instead of the acting side. There's not as much in the acting side, but it's not all bad. You have him acting in The Town, which is great. He is acting in Argo. He has the big Batman role he wanted to do, as much as it was a struggle for him personally. But it was big. That's his big acting role. And of course, he comes back strong with Triple Frontier. No, I love Triple Frontier, but I get why people don't.
It's decent.
It's a fun movie. I like it. But it does have The Accountant, and he does have, which we're going to talk about later, The Way Back. So at this point, though, I do think that I'm leaning towards Ben Affleck as well at this point, because Matt has some solid roles. Interstellar is a solid role. He has Jason Bourne, which was a little lackluster at best, I would say. But he's had some awful roles. Downsizing was not a great movie. I'm sorry. Suburbicon was awful. And
if you say We Bought a Zoo, I'm going to lose my shit. That is an amazing movie. Nobody take a shot at that movie.
I won't say anything then. It's fine. It's a fine movie. I don't have anything against that movie, to be honest.
Love it to bits.
But there are some solid roles too. Like The Adjustment Bureau is a great movie. I like that. It's not as well. I don't feel like that's talked about very much. he does have The Martian, which is a strong contender. He got
that is a really strong one.
That's definitely some things, but he kind of recently has been more in the cameo role. After downsizing Suburicon, he got the cameos in Thor, Ragnarok, Unsane, Deadpool 2. Deleted scenes in Ocean's 8, that kind of thing.
Don't forget The Great Wall.
The Great
Pedro Pascal.
Wall. Yeah, that's
Damon.
I haven't even watched all of that. I actually saw a little bit of it. I had a chance to watch the rest of it. I'm not inspired to go back. I'm not inspired to go back anytime soon. I'll be honest with you.
It's good fun. It's like an effects movie. It's not as it's amusing, I'll say. If you love it or you love to hate it, it's an amusing watch.
True. Another one is The Monuments Men. Monuments Men is actually another ensemble cast, and like actually reminiscent of Ocean's 11 as far as not as far as quality of movie to me, but like it's got that ensemble. George Clooney directed. It's got that kind of like that larger ensemble cast. Bill Murray, John Goodman, Kate Blanchett's in it. So that's another good one. But I think I got to go towards Ben Affleck on this side. Yeah. There's just too much there. We got an Oscar-winning director. Acting is strong. I think he could get nominated for The Way Back. I kind of think. I mean, I know this year's Oscars are going to be strange.
Yeah,
lack of it's not. I wouldn't say lack of movies. Like there's been no movies, but it's definitely not been the same like glut of movies that we've had usually released. His performance was strong enough in The Way Back that I wouldn't be shocked if he got an acting nomination for that. So I'll go with Ben Affleck on that one.
I'll correct one thing that you said. Matt Damon didn't win an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea. It got nominated. It didn't win Best Picture. Casey Affleck won the Oscar for.
That's what I confused. That's right. Yeah. So he was nominated for that, but not.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you for fact checking me. I like that. We don't want to be wrong in the show. That's true.
No. That would be unforgivable.
Unforgivable. My bad. Yeah.
What year did that come out?
2016.
Unforgiven. Oh, sorry, Unforgiven.
Oh, Unforgiven?
Yeah.
Oh, from the recent match? 19... God, I remember 1990...
Come on.
3.
2.
Fuck.
92, yeah.
So close. That's funny. They were both wrong in that question as well. And I was similarly 1 year, just 1 year off, but all right.
Weirdly, I knew that. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
I was closer. I was earlier. I knew it was early 90s. I couldn't remember if it was 2 or 3, though. I went 3. God damn it. All right.
So we're both going Affleck in this category.
Yes, I think we're both going Affleck. And that pretty solidly in both. I think we're both. It's kind of funny where we're not. We're both really on the same page so far. So
I feel like this is going to be a trend this episode. Because if I'm looking at the next category, the better the latest movie. So in this instance, we would be picking Ford v Ferrari versus The Way Back.
It is. Now this is
very. Do you want to take this one?
No, go ahead. You can go start. Right. I'm interested to hear your
very different movies, but both movies deserve and got a lot of attention. Ford v Ferrari, definitely the bigger, the flashier movie, and has Matt Damon plays a character who is like easy to relate to. And you can tell that Damon is enjoying himself. That is like right in his wheelhouse. He's having fun with it. He's doing a good job. But he's, I don't want to, definitely not like mailing it in, but you just feel like he's in his zone. He's doing his thing that comes very easy to him. If we look at, go ahead, interject.
No, I'll say you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I definitely think that Ford vs. Ferrari was a huge movie. It was well received. Mangold's film is one of the best of that year. But I will say, you think of Ford versus Ferrari, you think more about Christian Bale's performance. That's the one that kind of shines out to it. Damon's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
he's well. He does exactly what he needs to do. I don't think if you replace Matt Damon, it wouldn't be as good of a film. But it's nothing flashy. When you think about the acting in that film, you're not thinking, "Oh, Matt Damon, that's the guy you're talking about." But it's good. So I'm interested to see comparatively now what you have to say about The Way Back now.
Well, The Way Back is a personal film, and that's rooted in deep personal trauma for Ben Affleck. His experiences, he dives deep into the core of his own issues, which is I can't imagine how hard that was for him, but also how cathartic for him. So he gives a performance that is scarily good and painful to watch. That is like a true tour de force by Ben Affleck. So if we're thinking acting wise, again, this is an easy pick for The Way Back for me. That is a performance driven movie. Like, I don't want to take away from Christian Bale, but he's the lead in Ford v Ferrari, but that's not an actor's movie. The Way Back it's a personal movie for Affleck, and he knocks it out of the park. Like, if I had to give an easy Oscar nom, like you just said, for acting this year, that is the first thing that pops to my mind.
Okay.
It's an easy pick for me for The Way Back.
Okay.
Although I like Ford v Ferrari as better as a movie, but if we're talking performance, it's got to be The Way Back.
Well, interesting you say that. I guess we have to kind of decide. We kind of fuse categories together. What's the better latest movie?
I know. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit.
Better movie, or is it better Ben versus better Matt? But either way, I agree. I agree that Ford versus Ferrari versus Way Back is definitely about personality as far as personal things go. And I agree with you about the personal demons. It was a very cathartic movie for Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. And it definitely, I tried in my head to divorce that subject, take out Ben Affleck's personal nature with the topic, and what's that movie like if it's just an actor playing a role? Mm-hmm. And it was very hard to do.
It is.
I think it does lessen the film a little bit if I'm being objective.
Absolutely, it does for me now as well.
But at the same time, can we really penalize it for being a personal role? In fact, I think I reward it even more considering how difficult it must have been for him to do right after having the difficulty with his family and with his own addictions problems that he had to struggle through. And you're right, Ford vs. Ferrari is a more typical Oscar bait kind of movie in terms of production.
It would have been 10 years ago, I feel like, because nowadays what we want from Oscar movies is exactly like the type Way Back movies. Ford v Ferrari would have been like an Oscar winner 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. It was nominated for Best Picture, and it was definitely a showcase. The knock on it, if there was a knock on it, for a lot of different people, was exactly that: is that it's kind of an old timey Hollywood movie. This is like what yesteryear Hollywood movies would be, and it definitely skewed towards an older demographic. I think, like some of the older audience loved it for exactly that reason. It's a throwback kind of movie, whereas The Way Back, it's a very tough movie. It's a very personal movie. So I guess it depends on which kind of movie you like. I mean, it is really subjective at this point, isn't it? Mm-hmm. In terms of, like, you could have people who love The Way Back better, have people who love Ford versus Ferrari better. I'm a Way Back guy. Way Back, a little bit more. I loved Ford versus Ferrari. I think it's a fun thrill ride. It's a great story. I love learning about those two characters and that time frame and what they did, and it was a very phenomenal thing to learn about. Absolutely. Give me The Way Back every time, though, because that I felt a lot more with that than I felt with Ford vs. Ferrari. So yeah, that's an easy one for me too. Wow, going through this,
we're agreeing with each other way too much.
We should be able to hop on now and tell us how wrong. But it's funny, we've always been. Throwing it back there to our friendship, ever since we started getting together after action movie anatomy stuff, and we very much always had a lot of similar tastes, and we'd always that's how we started. We love this movie. We're in bond. Yeah. But then we started doing this show, and we started having these moments of heated "what the fuck" moments. John Williams, and so that comes up every once in a while. Definitely better than Hans Zimmer. But it just kind of...
Dude, I love John Williams. He's just no Hans.
Yeah, I feel like you keep saying that. Kind of let the audience hear that, and then they can judge your taste and your views. So
Hans Zimmer, he's the greatest movie composer of all time. John Williams is a strong second.
You hear that, folks? Do you hear that? This is why you listen to PLD. But either way,
yours is definitely the more popular opinion for sure. It's hard to if okay, I'll say John Williams is the GOAT, like as far as his persona, like everything goes, but Hans Zimmer is my number one pick.
That's fine.
So
And
I'll say it like that.
That I can agree with. And now, like, that's a completely subjective thing. And it's not like I don't love Hans Zimmer.
Hans is the GOAT.
He's probably my number 2, or at least in my top 5. So, I mean, like, so I'm not like arguing it necessarily. I do love Hans Zimmer, but John Williams is the GOAT. We're getting off topic because they have nothing to do with Matt Damon.
We needed to disagree for a second here.
So far, it's been too much one-sided at this point. But I would say we do have those moments, but this is going back to those days where we're basically on the same page. So I'm interested to see if this is going to continue as we move on forward. Let's move forward to the next category. Then this is an interesting category for me in a couple of different ways. Better iconic role. You said you have already come to the determination. You have one role for each.
Yeah, that's what I feel like is the most iconic. That's how I approach the category, right?
Okay, I'll take this category to start because when I look through it, I kind of like listed a couple rules. Like, well, this is pretty iconic. This is iconic, and I want to maybe I'll get there to where you are if it makes sense to me, and then we'll see if you agree with my choices. The big thing I have to say is that for the most part, and this is kind of goes to my argument, even before I choose the iconic roles, there are a couple roles that would maybe fit the bill. For Matt's roles, the original roles. For Ben's roles, he's basically taking on characters that are already created and have had other people play them. And so is it really just his role? And I'll get into it. I'll get into that first. Ben Affleck's the four potential characters I chose as iconic roles. Batman, Jack Ryan, Holden McNeil from Chasing Amy, and an outside shot you could say Daredevil, but that's more because of the character of Daredevil outside of that movie. Honestly, if you think about Daredevil nowadays, more people are going to start thinking about Charlie Cox from the Netflix TV series, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So so if I had to pick one, Holden McNeil is probably, I could argue that might be Ben's greatest role, potentially. Potentially. Is it iconic?
Maybe. It's not. Like I needed, like even me, and I love Chasing Amy and his character in the Kevin Smith movies. I needed a second, like Holden McNeil. All right, yeah, I know him.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't pop.
Because it's basically Ben Affleck and Chasing Amy. That's all it really is. That's how I look at it anyway. You don't think about Holden McNeil as much. Jack Ryan, another one that is a very iconic role, but he is probably,
he's probably the third most recognizable Jack Ryan.
Alec Baldwin more, Harrison Ford's more.
Harrison Ford, for sure.
I could even argue at this point, maybe John Krasinski from the Amazon series is at least as well known at this point. Jack Ryan, you're talking. It's basically it's a Ben Affleck's Jack Ryan versus maybe Chris Pine's Jack Ryan.
Yeah,
and that's not exactly great company to be talking about.
Nope.
Iconic role, but better played by somebody else. So that leaves us with the Batman. And here's my problem with that.
I think I know your problem.
Is he even the best Batman? He could be. I actually think that he might be my favorite Batman overall. But for everybody out there, you say Batman, people are going to say Christian Bale, Michael Keaton. We look at what just happened. I said Christian Bale, you said Michael Keaton.
Yeah, and
I both agree. I think they're great. They're great character choices and everything else. Some people might even say Adam West if you're old. 1960s Batman. We got the Pattinson coming up. Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, people are going to be saying Pattinson.
It could be that way. Batman. So if your most iconic role is a role that could arguably have been played better by somebody else, or at least arguably been like chosen by other people, and you can't, even if you say that's his iconic role, you can't argue that he is the most iconic person in that role definitively. You can say that's your opinion about it, absolutely. But as far as iconicity goes,
can I argue with that?
Okay, you can argue. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Try to argue with it. Go ahead.
Because I'll flip your argument, and I'll use that as a positive thing. The fact that he has had all these great Batmen before him, And even still, people, and you said as well, that he might be the best Batman. Like, look at it as a strength, not a weakness. The fact that there's been so many Batman roles, so many Bruce Waynes, it's an uphill battle, but that's still his most iconic. So even through all of that, you'd still say that this is his most iconic role.
Yeah, but when I want to think of iconic, I think of
Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, right? Yeah,
it's both the same thing. Han Solo, Harrison Ford, no way.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill. It becomes kind of a question whether I can do that or not, and I get why people could, but to me, it's not a positive. It's a negative. It's not even a role created for him. It's not he is sliding into a role. There's been a Batman for years before him. There's going to be a Batman for years after him. On the flip side, I think it's pretty easy to say what Matt Damon's iconic role is. You could talk about, I'll throw in my other choice, which is definitively not the answer, but if I had to look for it.
We Bought a Zoo, right?
No. Would be Linus Caldwell in the Ocean's movies. At least it's a trilogy. But again, there's not. It's a fun ensemble piece that has three choices, and he was in the Ocean's 8, but his scenes were deleted. So it's a big role for Matt. It's something he's played 4 times, and no one else has played that role. But let's be honest here. It's Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne is his most iconic role, definitively. And that's why I'm saying right now it's Matt Damon wins this category for that alone, because even if Jason Bourne was lackluster, which it was,
his character wasn't.
He wasn't the issue, right? He was not the issue. They tried to do a Bourne movie without him, and I think it's an underrated movie. The Jeremy Renner Bourne Legacy.
It is.
It also is not well received. Mm-hmm. And what did the people say? I don't want to see the Bourne without Matt Damon in it. Mm-hmm. That was part of the issue. You're going to see all these Ben Affleck movies. People want to see the Batman with Robert Pattinson, don't they? They want to see that Batman movie even without Ben Affleck. They're excited to see Michael Keaton reprise Batman in Flashpoint potentially. No one wants to see anybody else play Jason Bourne except for Matt Damon. And those movies are among that trilogy. Just let's put the original Bourne trilogy up there as one of the greatest action franchises of all time. Greatest action trilogy of all time, potentially. Mm-hmm. Mission Impossible's up there. Obviously, I get that. That's an argument to be had. There's others that are up there in that case. But that was a pretty perfectly done trilogy and a perfectly done role. You never thought Matt Damon was going to play that role. When you first thought of Matt Damon action star, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And yet, after the Bourne Identity, okay, I get it. I'm on board. So to me, this is actually no doubt Matt Damon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have you pretty much nailed all the points that I wanted to nail. But I'll argue, just for the sake of it, another thing about Ben Affleck and Batman. Also the fact that he had all these actors before him, but also the fact that he got pretty much demolished when he was cast in it. People hated the choice. I think you as well, one of the few who were like, that is a cool casting choice. Because we're fans of Ben Affleck.
That's true.
But he was in a bad place. His persona wasn't that well received, and people didn't want an actor who's known for his Michael Bay movies to play Batman.
I'll even slide in there real quick. Just a real quick point. Even I, who was a big Ben Affleck fan, it took me.
Did it?
A day or two. It took about a day or two to get in. I heard Ben Affleck, and my initial thought was,
okay. I was on board immediately.
I came around to it. I'm like, okay, let's see. But my initial thought was one of, I wouldn't say skepticism, but kind of like,
you were hesitant.
Let me think about this. But I was sold eventually. So I'm sorry, continue on that.
And most people were, until the release of the movie, were like, this is not going to work. And when they saw it, when they saw his Batman, his Bruce Wayne, they were sold. I don't think I've heard a fan who said that Ben Affleck didn't do a good job. So in that sense, again, he had an uphill battle. If you put him up against Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, obviously that's his most iconic role. He only had the books. He could slide into that role, do his own thing, but he became the character physically, mentally. He was the perfect choice. So, and I like to stress the physicality of it. I heard that he took boxing lessons not in order to learn how to fight, but in order to learn how to walk. There was a thing that I think it was Doug Lyman did the first one, right?
Yes.
He said that I want you to walk like a boxer. So for that reason, he took boxing lessons and he got that swagger sort of to him. This is the cool thing, but overall, you said it best. It's easily Matt Damon with Jason Bourne.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I like what you're arguing, though. I do. It does make me go the uphill battle. But I mean, Matt Damon did have the uphill battle, obviously, with Bourne as well, as far as, like I said, the action franchise or action hero. But it did get to make a stamp on his role, where Ben Affleck did have to overcome some things. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. At the end of the day, iconic role, you are that character and no one else is that character. That's what Matt Damon is with Jason Bourne right now. It's not what Ben Affleck is with Batman or Jack Ryan.
That's why I'm going with Matt Damon, even though I argued for
I know. I'm glad you did. So it's interesting to hear. So, wow, this is going pretty intense here at this point. Let's go. We got our final category here. We have looking forward to the future.
Who has more potential as a Hollywood persona?
Right.
Let's say.
We're not talking about personality. We're not talking about we're not getting into any cheap public lifestyles or anything. Obviously, we're not going to get into any Damon's or Ben's. We talked about his battles and stuff as far as addiction goes and things like that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in the forward as far as acting and outside acting. We can include writing and directing and stuff, because that's obviously coming back into play, especially with the new Ridley Scott film that's coming out. They both wrote it. They both starred it. Going forward, though, if you had to hitch your cart to one of these people, who are you hitching it on?
I feel like you have to go with Ben Affleck, and I feel like he's the obvious choice here.
Why?
It's because of his who wrote with Matt Damon, but it's because of his directing and the fact that he won an Oscar for directing, and we know even his roles his movies that didn't win an Oscar, like The Town, is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 15 movies of all time. So Argo, The Town. What else did it direct? Gone Baby Gone. Is there one more?
Yes.
Live by Night.
Gone Baby Gone, Argo, Live by Night. Those are the big three. Right?
And I'm pretty sure he's going to continue directing more so than he will be acting, which I hope he will continue to direct and star in his own movies. I know it's sort of like a weird thing to hope for, but that works for him. It truly does work for him, and I wouldn't want to lose him as an actor. But sure, like we said before, Matt Damon has done a lot of producing, and I feel like Matt Damon definitely has an acting Oscar in him.
Oh yeah,
that is. So I feel like that's only a matter of time, but we got to look at the directing on Ben Affleck's side, and that is the decider for me.
Okay, so you're saying Ben on that side. Okay. I see your point, and I'm trying to look at this, establish this for myself as well. Ben does have his role as Batman still in Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut. That's still technically moving forward. You got to count that. Ben's directing. It's interesting to see where it goes from here. He had Live by Night, which we discussed as a definitely underperforming at best, if not, I don't know if disaster is the right word necessarily. I feel like, let's see, what did it do? Did it receive mixed reviews? And
Live by Night, pretty much, I think it got bad reviews. Yeah, I think mixed is a kind word.
So it's saying here, I was looking it up in the article. I mean, that's Wikipedia, I get, but it said it received mixed reviews and was a box office bomb. 22 million grossed against its budget of 65 million. The film lost around, according to Insider, $75 million. Not a good thing. Does, in this day and age where Ben Affleck, or the day and age where in Hollywood, just like in music and everything else, it seems like, what did you do for me lately? Does Ben get another good, solid shot at directing, especially with the state of movies in this world? I think he does.
It's already announced that he's doing Ghost Army.
Is it? Is he?
Yeah, and I just read the synopsis. It looks like it looks similar to Argo in a way. It's the U.S. military forms a squadron of unconventional recruits during World War II to trick the German army into thinking there were outposts and bases where there were only mannequins, props, and inflatable tanks. So that looks very much like Argo, sort of like like they're tricking using like props. I don't know. It feels like it's kind of like an ode to Argo in a way that Hollywood came to the rescue. It feels like the same way here, that like trying to trick something to win a war in that way.
Now, the question I have, though, it is an IMDb, but it was announced in April. I don't know if COVID has done anything with that. I know you can't trust Wikipedia, but it's not even on the Wikipedia page yet. So I don't know if it's something that has ever happened where
it's in pre-production.
So I'll have to see how that goes. Okay, so he gets I always knew he'd get another shot. That was my argument was going to be he definitely gets another shot at some point. I didn't know what level he was going to get a shot at this point. Again, because Hollywood has been more notoriously at this point stingier as we move in these uncertain times. But okay, so he gets another shot. That's good. That's a good point moving forward. I'll be interested to see how he rebounds from Live by Night. Does he go back and get some of those critical acclaim from the movies like The Town and Gone Baby Gone? Or does he do another Live by Night where it starts like faltering a little bit? That's going to be very interesting to see. Although on Matt's side, I feel like Matt, I almost feel like, I guess what I'm trying to say here is I guess Ben has more potential.
But he has more ups and like he has more downs as well as ups.
But it's ups and downs, and he's more volatile as far as that goes. So I could see him bomb out. I could see him have the next movie bomb out directing wise, and he goes back and has to like become Batman again or do something else he doesn't want to do. Maybe another The Accountant, which I would actually like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to The Accountant.
I think it's already coming out, is it not?
It's been talked about. I know that we are big fans of Gavin O'Connor, and I know we're all wondering what we're going to see as far as Warrior goes and everything else. They're talking about doing sequels to that. It was announced they were developing a sequel back in 2017. They're also going to return. That was back in 2017 when it was announced. There hasn't been much movement on it. I know this year Ben reiterated that he wanted to make the sequel. But there's also one point he noted that a possibility would be a television series based on the character. So I don't know if it means a Ben miniseries on Netflix, a Ben series on Netflix, or was it just like redoing the character, or rebooting it as a Netflix or streaming service show? So it's not a definitive thing. It's a maybe. So I'm reiterating my desire to see Ben Affleck back in the role of a big time accountant sequel, but I guess we'll have to find out. But either way, coming down to it, does he fail and he has to do movies more back on those kind of roles, maybe more in the action roles? So it's ups and downs. I think Matt is consistent for the most part. He's not acting as much, but he does his production credits. He hits those good movies. Yeah, he had a bad 2017. It was a bad with Downsizing and Suburbicon were bad movies in that year. But he rebounded in 2019 at Ford vs. Ferrari. 2015 Martian. He's been a little more consistent. So if you want to be safe, you hit your ride to Matt Damon and kind of ride it out and be okay. I'll have some good, just have some bad, won't be bad. But if we're going to talk about going forward, I'm a gambling man. No pun intended. Sorry with Ben's personal issues. But I got to go with Ben Affleck at that as well. I'd gamble on Ben Affleck as saying there's definitely more height potential, especially including his directing career. Specifically just his acting career, that might become a different conversation. But because the directing is in play specifically, Ben Affleck wins it for me. Which
I'm
means
pretty sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
And I was just thinking that I'm pretty sure Matt Damon is going to direct at some point. I feel like he's so close with Ben Affleck. He sees how his best friend can transcend to directing. I feel like there is a movie in him that he will direct at some point.
I don't know. Have you ever heard of Matt Damon talking about it even though?
No, I haven't. And it's the same thing with Tom Cruise. I feel like Tom Cruise also doesn't feel like a guy who is going to direct for some reason.
Right. I don't think Tom ever will. I think he's very happy being the lead actor. I think he's very happy he'll produce things. He might even do other things like that. So I don't know if Matt Damon ever does direct. I think he could. I think maybe if I'd get the opportunity, obviously, if he ever wanted to, then yeah, let's give it a shot. Matt Damon debut, absolutely, let's give it a shot. I don't think he does, though. I think he sticks with the writing aspect of it, of that nature. But I'm interested to see where he goes. I'd love to see what he has to do. I think he has a great mind for the business at this point. He has a lot of great fun characters. Oh, by the way, real quick, going back, another iconic role, but in the Ben Affleck vein is Matt Damon being in Mr. Ripley.
Yeah.
That's another one. But again, another character that's been played by numerous people. So just want to throw that out there. I didn't forget that. As some people have told me actually in discussion, like they love the talented Mr. Ripley. That's their favorite Matt Damon role.
Weirdly, I don't like that movie.
Really?
It's such a weird and tough watch. It's like uncomfortable.
Yeah, I get that.
But that's the point. But it's the same reason why I couldn't watch Uncut Gems. Like I can't have this kind of anxiety when I'm watching movies.
Well, all right, guys, that is actually going to do it for us because we actually have a decision made here. Our snap judgment was correct. Ben Affleck wins this one 6-4. So that's where we will wrap it up. It's impressive book. We picked right, but at the same time, we see that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are two definitive stars, two definitive people going forward. We're both excited to see what they can do in the future. They both are. We're big fans of both of them. So that's where we're at. That Eric Jarvi, where can the folks find you?
You can find me at Eric with a K Jarvi on Facebook and Instagram. And also with Paul, we do Mandalorian reactions. I'll say it's not really a full-fledged review because we're just chatting, but I feel like that's the fun of it. So check these out on PLD Projects on YouTube. Matty Gunner has been joining us lately as well, and he's also like our crew member now on that show. So
it's been the three of us at that point. And I always call it the Mandalorian Fireside Chat. That's what
exactly. Perfect.
But yeah, no, that's exactly it. You find me at Paul Denuzio on Twitter. You find me on Action Industries, the home of Ben Affleck. Home of Ben Damon and Andrew Guy. We always give them a little shout out to thank them for letting us have a little slice on their YouTube space. You can find me producing the Action Industry show on the weekends every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, generally speaking. Also do Rear the Question, which is a show I co-host with them. We also see me on SCN work I produce for coming up next every Thursday, a show about the movie Trivia Schmodown. You can also find me at Call to Action, which we do it's another movie Trivia Schmodown channel, reaction channel. When we have interviews, I do Chilled Action. Tonight, Danny and I are going to be interviewing Tom Ryman, who is one of the best characters we've seen in the Trivia Schmodown for a while now, as far as that goes. And like Richard says, PLD projects, I'm establishing more and more for that. I do the Mandalorian stuff. And we're also doing, generally speaking, some tier making. We do the Action Army Generals. Actually, if you don't know Action Army, join the Patreon at Action Industries, patreon.com/Team Action, or join us over at Call to Action as well. They're all Action Army. It's all about team action and everything else there. So that's it. Being said, we do have a choice for next week. I'm going to joke right now and say this might be one of our lowest rated episodes because I don't know how many people actually want to see this battle, but we want to have the battle. So fuck it.
I think we should get people more excited because these are really great movies to pit against each other. And I hope people will watch them before they watch our show because these truly are like gems and like underrated movies that don't get enough attention.
We're big fans, Action Industries at the Father-Son Connections and the Father-Son Stories, and that's what they're doing this week. We're doing next week, Battle of Father-Son Stories, The Judge versus Kodachrome.
Ed Harris
With Ed
versus Duvall. Downey versus Sudeikis. There we go. There we
I get to
go.
talk to Harris, so it makes me very excited. I'm going to try to check my biases at the door as I go. I have not seen The Judge yet. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, you haven't?
I have not seen The Judge yet.
Right. Oh,
So
I'm excited for you.
This was Richard R. Jarvis' pitch. He actually pitched this to me, guys, just so you know. This is not my decision.
True story.
I always hesitate on doing Ed Harris movies. I don't want to appear to be biased. I do love Kodachrome, though. I think it's one of Ed's one of his best, more recent roles in the space. So, but I'm very excited to watch both of them again. Watch Kodachrome again rather than watch The Judge and see what the buzz from Jarvi is all about. So, with that being said, thank you so much for being here. Give us a like, give us a subscription, comment, tell us what you want to see. I know, Buck. I said we're doing the Town versus Departed. I think we will do the Town versus Departed at some point soon. Other things we have in mind as well coming up over the holidays. So stick with us. Love you guys. And what's that phrase I say here? What's the new one I say? What's the new one I said?
Judgment has been made. No,
it has been served.
But court's
been adjourned. I know the last one definitely court's been adjourned. Court's been adjourned. Let's get out of here before I forget again. It's all done. Take care, guys.